Hey there. Welcome to Celestial You. Today we're going to talk about fear. There's quite a bit of fear in the collective, and I want to do an episode on emotional processing of fear. If you want to follow along, go to my website, to the Emotional Alchemy tab, and download your Emotional Alchemy guide, and you can follow along. So on the Emotional Alchemy Guide, I have a chart called Feel to Release. And if you are able to feel your fear and hear the message that your fear wants to tell you, then the holistic benefit of that is to caution you or to warn you about a certain situation. If you fail to feel your emotions, this fear could actually devolve into uncertainty. And over time, the toxic result of that is that you're going to be living with anxiety. So instead of living with anxiety, my recommendation is to process your fear. If you need help with that, I do have an emotional alchemy, emotional processing meditation on this YouTube channel that you can use, and I walk you through processing that fear. So a lot of times, fear can also be a choice, because we can either choose to live in fear or choose to live in a love frequency, a co-creative frequency. Fear is constricting, love is expanding. And a lot of times, maybe if we're not feeling certain, we would do better to rewire our lives by acting with certainty, or acting even though you might feel fear and release that fear, still do the thing that requires courage. Cultivating courage is a strength that you build over time by challenging your own fear. Far better to challenge that fear and to just go ahead and do it anyway, because while doing that, you prove to your child self that, in fact, there is nothing to fear. The more you challenge yourself, the better you do with this regard. Of course, you can't really do this unless you process your fear first. So I highly recommend that as a first step. In the astrology, I can identify the origins of fear for you. And right now in the transits, it's pretty clear that we have some areas of fear to overcome. So what are those areas? One, Saturn is a planet that can cause fear. Saturn likes security, likes to go slow, and right now it's in Aries. So that's a place where it's antithetical. Aries it's that masculine action energy. And so in this sign, Saturn is actually debilitated or sleeping. So can't put in as much of the work, of the diligence and tenacity as it normally does. And it's requiring a higher level of alignment in order to do so. So one of the things that might be stopping you from making changes in your life right now is fear, because Saturn is our restrictions and limitations. And oftentimes these are false limitations. So while feeling your fear, it's important to do so with compassion, to soothe yourself. I have some exercises where you can actually blow out your negative emotion. I also recommend that you hug yourself, that you tell yourself everything's going to be okay. All these techniques, tapping is another technique that I have in my guide. These are ways in which you can release the fear so that you can think clearly, think and act clearly. If that fear with Saturn, particularly in Aries, there is a debilitation in the leadership. So people are afraid of the leaders. And, Saturn can also be an area of corruption. So this is a valid fear. It is a place where you could potentially confront that situation. Saturn does allow for you to be more blunt or more transparent about how you feel. In particular, Aries is like your inspiration and your passions. So there's a lot of conflict energy here. But as it relates to leadership, there is this fear of stepping forward, of you becoming a leader that you may be experiencing at this time. Saturn's going to be here for around 2.5, 3 years. So there's plenty of time to learn how to be an authentic leader. That's the opportunity. And the other big fear element I see is Rahu, or the north node of the moon. Right now, that is in Pisces. It's been in Pisces for some time, and I believe we still have a few more months left of this placement in Pisces. So what does it feel like? It is not knowing what the future holds for you, not being able to clearly see a vision for your life as a whole. It's the big picture plan. And when the North Node or Rahu's there, that's that thing you can't quite grasp, and it's bothering you because you can't quite see how it's all going to work out. In fact, this sign asks for you to have more faith. But the flip part of that, of having so much faith, is that you really have to confront your fears. So these are fears about your life in totality, about your ideals. Like, how did you ideally want your life to go? And if that's something that you can't see, it's going to cause you instability and fear. Releasing that fear, releasing this idea that you need to know everything up front, will allow you to reach for more possibilities, because what is the realm of the unknown? Pisces is like the liberation sign. It's death, but through death and darkness and the subconscious, it's the realm of the shadow, right? So there's so many possibilities, so many timelines available for you, that it causes fear because you don't know how far you can reach. You've never been offered things like this before. You've never even thought about doing things like this before. And this is actually asking you to reach for the stars, to go into the unknown, to conquer those unconscious limiting beliefs. And one way to do that is to feel your fear. Where's the origin of that fear? Where have you felt that way before in the past? And however you felt in the past, you can heal that. You heal that through compassion, but mostly you heal that through feeling the fear and doing the thing you want to do anyway. It's like this faith that you need to have. Pisces is also faith. So it's the faith in the creator, that the creator will come through. And at times it will seem, because we're going through so much contraction, because even right now as I speak, Mars is conjoined Chiron in the sky. And so there's such a pressure on your identity wounds in Aries happening alongside Saturn there in Aries. And so it's like we're quite literally confronting our wounds with regard to who we are, who we want to be, our inspiration, our passion. And we're having to choose to be ourselves and to be super authentic. Otherwise, it's painful. There's conflict. And maybe it requires you to navigate things differently than you ever have in the past. So all of that is happening right now. these are kind of long enduring themes that you will have experienced. Another thing I see commonly, because Saturn's in Aries, kind of slowing down your progress, is that people can actually be paralyzed by their fear momentarily. If that happens to you, process your fear before moving ahead. It's time to let go. Let go of this kind of strict idea of what you want to be or how you want your life to be ideally, right? And allow for that to unfold through faith, through that leap of faith, through you might have to be uncomfortable for a while. Actually, that's another aspect of this. Feel the fear, feel the discomfort, do the thing anyway, because that's how you're going to get ahead at this time where the nation is just completely, and the world is completely in a state of, many people in terror over what's happening in the world. Conversely, when horrible things happen, that gives you an opportunity to get ahead in life because there's such a expanse of energy available to you to make change right now. And so few people are facing their fears in order to do that. They don't feel that they can. And it's precisely in those moments where you can harness the energy. And instead of letting the planet seize you, you seize the energy and push through. And my guide, Master Isa, also known as Yeshua, also known as Jesus, has some thoughts about this. And he says, if you are grieving the imbalance of relationships due to limitation, due to things not going well, due to shit hitting the fan, especially when you are trying to, when you feel lonely in the way that you are, let's just say, because Saturn in Aries is demanding that we are exactly who we are. And of course, if that doesn't resonate with people or it turns your relationships upside down, it's going to make you feel lonely. And so he is saying that it is necessary to surrender that loneliness and that fear of being alone in your uniqueness, in who you are. And Master Isa says, call on your guides, your spirit helpers, your loving guides, or call on Master Isa or Jesus himself to help you to solidify, to stabilize that uncertainty you feel. And through this process of surrender, your guides can help you surrender your fear. They can help you stabilize, and they can assist you in opening up and expanding after that contraction of fear. A lot of times, fear is a contraction followed by an expansion, especially right now, because what's happening is the sun is being very active. The planets are very active. We're going through cycles and cycles of light, and that light does expose all of our fears. So if you feel that you're seized by fears that you thought you had already processed, don't do like me and get offended. What you resist persists. But instead, if you can, sit with that fear, love yourself, allow for yourself to call in your guides, help to release the fear that you're in that moment. And know that when you release fear, when you're triggered and you're able to release fear, through that contraction and through that expansion, you're actually growing. You're growing in strength. You're growing in courage. And courage is very necessary at this time. Okay, and so something that happens when the North Node is in Pisces and there's a real lack of understanding of the global picture of your life or how things are going to go, and things are lacking in that fulfillment category, you may feel as though a lot of the things you're working for, especially with Saturn and Aries, are kind of hamster wheel situations where you're trying, but it just feels like nothing's working or it's delayed. And so delays and stuckness is an issue, because what that does is sometimes it causes anxiety. And it's up to us to know that even though we cannot see where the long-term outcome is going to be, especially right now, we cannot see it. We will in the next few months get a bit better picture of this. So hang in there. But for now, there is this greater need to release your anxiety because we don't have that clarity as a human. The best thing you can do to break the cycle of fear is to take action to forgive whatever happened badly in the past. So if you're triggered to think about things that ended up badly in the past, now is the time to be introspective about that, to meditate on that, to do some emotional processing on that, and forgive what happened in the past, and understand that the triumph over fear, the courage over fear, is simply you having the audacity to believe that things will work out, even if they failed in the past, even if other situations, similar situations, failed in the past. So that's the key, is it's like, be audacious because you can. I mean, one of the flip sides, the higher vibrational elements of Saturn and Aries, is that it very much wants to align you to what you desire. Because Aries is kind of like what you desire. It wants to align you deeply to what you desire, but you just have to go through the fear. You have to go through the fear of like, well, I desire this, but last time it didn't work out, and so should I do this again? And instead of questioning yourself, it's almost better, because Saturn is in Aries, to just do things, to just work on taking measures and practical measures and steps towards your goals. And the way that you do that and not get hung up on what happened in the past, if things come up about the past, recognize that that's an illusion. What happened in the past need not repeat. We are at a point where we can break all of the cycles. If we're conscious of them, we can break those cycles. So this is what I work with people on. And if you need help rewiring your limiting beliefs, identifying, what elements of your life you need to change, that is what I do. So thank you. And I also wanted to say that I believe one of the most used phrases in the Bible is "do not fear." So even though the world is a crazy place and there's a lot of reason for insecurity at this time, there's so much potential for growth and courage and strength. And think about the ways in which you can be that strength and show people through action how to be strong, how to be practical. And really, you do that once you have surrendered your fear. So good luck, guys. We need you. We need all of you to be strong and to work on these things so that we can create